I simulated my life 5 different ways. 4 versions of me never became rich. The weird part, the version that made the most money didn't win. And the version that became rich wasn't the smartest, the hardest working, or even the luckiest. When I saw the results, I sat staring at my laptop for almost 20 minutes because all 5 versions started with the exact same person, me. A few months ago, I was sitting on my couch after work, scrolling through social media. You know that feeling when everyone seems to be doing better than you? One friend bought a house, another posted pictures from Italy. Some guy I graduated high school with was standing next to a new Porsche, pretending he wasn't showing it off. Meanwhile, I was 31 years old, renting an apartment, driving a 7-year-old Honda, and wondering why life felt like it was moving faster for everyone else. That night, I opened my banking app, then my retirement account, then my savings account, then my credit card balance, and I had a strange realization. I wasn't failing, but I wasn't exactly winning either. I was drifting. Not broke, not wealthy, just drifting. And that's what bothered me, because drifting feels safe until you realize you've been drifting for 10 years. So I decided to do something unusual. I built 5 different versions of my future, 5 different lives, 5 different versions of me, each one starting from the exact same place, same age, same salary, same debt, same savings, same opportunities. The only difference was the decisions each version made. At first, it felt like a fun experiment, a thought exercise, something to satisfy my curiosity. I had no idea it would completely change how I thought about money. The first version was the one I secretly thought would win. I called him high-income me. This guy became obsessed with earning more. Side hustles, weekend work, online businesses, extra projects, anything that could increase income. He worked constantly. Every year his earnings climbed higher, 40,000, 60,000, 90,000, 120,000, eventually even more. And honestly, the beginning looked incredible. His life upgraded fast. Better apartment, better vacations, better restaurants, better everything. For a while, I felt proud of him. Then something strange happened. The more he earned, the more he spent. Every raise created new expenses. Every success created a new lifestyle. The nicer apartment became normal. The expensive car became normal. The luxury vacations became normal. Nothing ever felt like enough. His income chart looked amazing. His net worth chart looked surprisingly average. I stared at the numbers. How is that possible? Then I remembered something from my own life. The first time I got a raise, I celebrated by increasing almost every monthly expense I had. It felt harmless, but high-income me kept doing it for decades. By retirement age, he looked successful, but he wasn't rich, not even close. I thought that was the lesson. I was completely wrong, because the second version did even worse. I called him future me who wanted to look rich. This version wasn't chasing money, he was chasing appearances. Every financial decision passed through one question: what will people think? The car mattered, the neighborhood mattered, the watch mattered, the phone mattered. Everything was a performance. And the scary part, some of it worked. People were impressed. Friends assumed he was successful. Strangers respected him. Social media loved him. But behind the scenes, things looked different. The credit card balances grew, the savings shrank. Stress quietly followed him everywhere. I imagined him lying awake at night, not because he lacked money, because he couldn't stop maintaining the image. The life looked expensive because it was. Eventually, the simulation showed something I couldn't ignore. He spent decades buying symbols of wealth instead of wealth itself, and by the end, he had almost nothing to show for it. That one hurt, because if I'm honest, I've made decisions just because I didn't want to feel left behind. Maybe you have too. But the third version surprised me the most. I called him Safe Me. This guy never made mistakes, or at least he tried not to. Every dollar stayed protected, everything stayed secure. No risks, no investing, no uncertainty, just saving, saving, and saving. At first, I admired him. His emergency fund was huge. His accounts grew steadily. He never worried about market crashes. He never worried about losses. But then inflation started doing something invisible. Year after year, quietly, slowly, like a leak nobody notices, his money grew, but his purchasing power didn't. Decades passed, and despite doing everything safe, he ended up surprisingly average. Not because he made bad decisions, because avoiding every risk became its own risk. That realization stayed with me for days, but there were still two versions left, and one of them completely changed the experiment. Version 4 was what I call reaction me. This guy made emotional decisions. Good news, he got excited. Bad news, he got scared. Every headline affected him. Every market crash terrified him. Every trend distracted him. Every opportunity felt urgent. Watching his future unfold felt exhausting. One year he was convinced real estate was the answer, then crypto, then stocks, then cash, then something else. He kept changing direction, always moving, never progressing. It reminded me of trying to dig a well, except every time he dug 3 feet down, he moved somewhere else and started over. 20 years later, he had hundreds of half-finished holes. No water, no results, just effort. Lots of effort. And that's when I realized something uncomfortable. Knowledge wasn't his problem. Behavior was. He knew enough. He just couldn't stay consistent. I think that's true for a lot of people, including me. But there was still one version left, the version that became rich. And honestly, I almost didn't create him because he seemed boring. I called him Consistent Me. No dramatic success story, no lottery ticket, no massive promotion, no viral business, no overnight breakthrough. Nothing exciting happened, at least not at first. He earned a normal income, lived in a normal home, drove normal cars, made normal decisions. The first 10 years were almost painfully uneventful. I remember staring at the simulation, thinking this version would fail. Nothing interesting was happening. Meanwhile, the other versions looked exciting. One was earning huge money, another looked wealthy, another felt safe, another chased opportunities. Consistent me looked ordinary. Then year 15 arrived, and things started changing. Not dramatically, just enough to notice. His investments began producing meaningful growth. His savings felt substantial. His financial stress kept decreasing. The gap between him and the others started widening, slowly. Then year 20, the gap became obvious. Year 25, the gap became huge. Year 30, it wasn't even close anymore. And that's when the strangest part of the entire experiment appeared. The richest version of me didn't seem obsessed with money. Money wasn't controlling his decisions. Money wasn't controlling his emotions. Money wasn't controlling his identity. It was simply a tool, nothing more. The other versions spent years reacting to money. This version spent years ignoring the noise and repeating simple behaviors. That was it. No secret, no genius strategy, just consistency. And weirdly enough, consistency was the one thing every other version lacked. I kept staring at the results because I expected the winner to be smarter or more ambitious or more talented. Instead, the winner was calmer, more patient, less emotional, less interested in looking successful. The experiment ended, but I couldn't stop thinking about it, especially because I started recognizing pieces of myself inside every version. I've been high-income me, I've been status me, I've been safe me, I've definitely been reaction me. The truth is, most people aren't one version forever. We switch between them, sometimes within the same week. One day we're patient, the next day we're impulsive. One day we're focused, the next day we're comparing ourselves to strangers online. The battle isn't really about money, it's about behavior. Money just keeps score. That realization hit me harder than anything else. Because before this experiment, I thought wealth was mostly about finding the right answer, the perfect strategy, the perfect investment, the perfect opportunity. But after watching 5 different futures unfold, I realized something. Most of the outcomes weren't determined by intelligence. They were determined by habits, repeated thousands of times. Tiny decisions, repeated quietly, for years. The richest version of me wasn't extraordinary. He just kept showing up, again and again and again. Long after the excitement disappeared, long after nobody was watching, long after the results felt invisible. And maybe that's why he won. Because the biggest financial mistake isn't usually making one terrible decision. It's spending decades making small emotional decisions without realizing it. When I started this experiment, I wanted to know which version of me would become rich. What I discovered was something different. The richest version of me wasn't the one who earned the most. It was the one who made the best decisions when nobody was paying attention.